Hello, everyone. My name is Karrin Mayfield Felton, and you are joining me and Mr. Franklin Chatman to continue the conversation as we celebrate fathers and men who are walking the walk. You know what I do. You know I let this music ride so that we can get a good bop going. So if you haven't grabbed your snack or your beverage of choice, grab your nephews, your neighbor's kids, your kids, and position them in front of whatever screen you're using to watch us, because you're going to want to learn everything that's going to come out of Mr. Chatman's mouth. I can assure you. So we're going to bop for a few minutes. As always, I give credit and honor to my partner in life, Mr. Al Felton, who curates beats. So I've got in-house DJs, y'all. We're going to enjoy a bop and then come and join us. All right, I've given y'all enough time. Let's get right on into this. Mr. Franklin Chatman, how are you doing, sir?
Just fine. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. I am so excited to be sitting across the keyboard from you, sir. For those of you that don't know or may not have looked at my post a week prior to this being live streamed, I grew up with these young men. We can call you young men. I grew up with them. These aren't strangers normally, and oftentimes I interview people I haven't met. This is not the case. I actually know the young Franklin Chatman, right? He happens to be a contemporary of my older sister. So my older sister's 2 years older than me. So they were in the same grade together. But nonetheless, I remember being in high school, watching him play. We didn't have some of the same classes, but let me tell you, just the experience of reading his bio and talking to him takes me back to the halls of John F. Kennedy High School in Suffolk, Virginia. So welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. I'm going to put his contact card and his handsome picture on the screen so you can know a little bit more about what he's about. Mr. Franklin Chatman, currently the principal for the Suffolk SECP Center and the head men's basketball coach at Paul D. Camp Community College. He also played for Coach Spencer Mayfield Jr., my dad, from 86 to 89 varsity. So we're going to get into his basketball game, his current achievements, what he's doing now, and more importantly, he's going to drop some wisdom and knowledge for this generation of young men and young women. I'm focusing in on our men this time because I weigh heavy on the ladies during the year. So this time, the men, y'all come on in and just enjoy seeing a Black man doing his thing. Okay, so I'm going to read a few things about his bio. And then we're going to get into some questions, and then we're going to learn a little bit more about him as an athlete playing for my dad and kind of what he's doing now. So let's get started. Coach Franklin is entering his first year as the head men's basketball coach at Paul D. Camp Community College in the inaugural season for the school, meaning this is the first, y'all. He has over 20 years of coaching experience and player development, along with over 120 college victories in his career as a head coach. His last head coaching position was at American National University for the 2019-2020 season. There were members of the United States Small College Athletic Association, and he started the program from scratch while being named its first ever coach. If you've noticed, I've been talking for 10 seconds and I've mentioned two firsts already, so he packed some heat. At ANU, he was responsible for the overall operation of the program, including recruiting, academics, practice, equipment, scheduling, and travel plans. Prior to starting the program at ANU, he served for 2 years as a head coach at Stratford University in Newport News, Virginia. After being hired in 2017, he built the Cardinals into a nationally ranked program in the USCAA, being ranked as high as number 2 in the nation, while earning a berth in the USCAA national tournament. While at Stratford, he coached 3 USCAA All Americans and was named the 2018-2019 USCAA Division I National Basketball Coach of the Year. Did y'all hear that? In addition, he was also named the 2018-2019 Small College Sports Coach of the Year. I'm getting giddy. I just love reading all the great stuff. And there's more. Just you wait. After leaving Nansemond River, he took over the Nansemond Suffolk Academy program from 2008 to 2010, while also coaching the Boo Williams 16U Nike Elite Traveling Team from 2004 to 2010. While with Boo Williams, he won over 85% of his games over a 5-year period. He also helped develop over 20 Division I student athletes, as well as 5 professional athletes. And their names are, we're going to drop names, y'all. Dorian Finney-Smith with the NBA, Mike Scott with the NBA, Kent Bazemore with the NBA, Tyrod Taylor with the NFL, and EJ Manuel with the NFL. He played college basketball at the Virginia State University, another HBCU cousin to the Norfolk State University, and currently resides in surprising Suffolk with his wife, Sonia, who is a teacher at Kings Fork Middle School. I have a warm place in my heart for teachers, so I'm loving her already. He has 2 sons, Franklin II, who is a teacher at Nansemond River High School, and Tyler, who is a junior guard at Hampton University's men's basketball team. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you Mr. Franklin Chatman. I don't have an applause button, but if I did, it would. Okay, so we just gonna do a manual applause button, sir. Okay, I'm an engineer by education. All of those numbers and stats, remarkable. You have to tell us and the audience just how have you been able to accomplish all those things?
Well, and actually it just starts with the foundation, right? A lot of times the only way you can accomplish things is because you have to have the foundation. And it part of it started my upbringing. I was raised by a single mother in housing projects in Suffolk, Cypress Manor. And my mom did not play when it came to education and when it came to being respectful and all of that stuff. So I would definitely want to shout out my mother. And she passed away in 2020, which she did what she needed to do to get me to where I need to be. So it's definitely the foundation. And then playing high school basketball at John F. Kennedy under Coach Spencer Mayfield. He was the father that most of us didn't have growing up. So those are some of the things that I'm always gonna give credit to. Of course, my mom and Coach Mayfield, who really helped me along the way.
Man, first of all, condolences on the passing of your mom. I remember her very fondly, always at every game.
Yes.
Every game. So folks, you hear the bio, you hear all the accolades. He didn't just poof appear. And we're going to pull the thread and we're going to dig deep into not only what helped you get here and really the why as to what causes you to wake up every morning with the goals and aspirations that you have. But first, before we get there, I got to throw this picture up. This picture right here is what he was referring to. I'll just add a fun fact. I went to John F. Kennedy for 3 years. Suffolk decided to create 2 brand new high schools my senior year, merge 4 into 2. So I didn't get a chance to graduate from John F. Kennedy like you and my sister did. But this picture represents so many childhood memories, so many of these young men I saw in my home, I saw in school. I call you brothers because you meant so much to my dad and you mean so much to me. So I'm going to shut up. Talk us through this picture. What's going
Well,
on?
first I will say this: your dad didn't play when it came to you and your sisters. He would always, y'all need to take care of y'all sisters at school, so y'all were our little sisters.
Yep.
But of course, I can't get started about this picture without talking about Coach Mayfield, your father. Like he was the father figure for all of us, and he helped guide us to be positive, productive men. And he would definitely be proud of all of us if he was still living today. Um, the assistant coach was Mr. Littlefield, Coach Littlefield. With your dad and Coach Littlefield, they were nothing got past neither one of them, but they helped develop us. So I'm going to start to the far left, which is Melvin Stallings. You actually interviewing him as well. Melvin was a young guard on this team, really great guy. He actually played college football at Norfolk State. Then you have Melvin. Michael Slaughter, that's right, directly beside him. Mike was a young guard as well. And then beside him is Quint Bonds, which was one of my really good friends. We graduated together. He actually played college football. And beside Quint Bonds, one number 7 is Bobby Goodman. Bobby Goodman was a heck of an athlete. He actually played college football at the University of Virginia. He was a starting quarterback, which means you have to be really, really good academically and athletically. Number 3 is the young Chatman. That was me. I was number 3 in high school. I was probably about 5'8", 120 pounds. But Coach Mayfield still found a lot of value in me. Then it was John Scott beside me. John Scott was a young guard. Unfortunately, on this picture, the only person that's actually deceased that was part of the team other than the coaches is Gerald Wiggins. We lost him this past year. My condolences do go out to him and his family. At the top is Ed Boone. Ed Boone was probably number 8. He probably one of the best athletes I've ever been around. I mean, he was just amazing on the football field and on the basketball court. Keith Williams is the other guy wearing number 9. Really good player. Understood how to play. But actually, the best player on this team was number 12, Shelly Laster. He was just a smooth guy. No matter what coach said to him, Shelly was going to still give him that little stir down, and he made us feel like everything was going to be okay. In the middle is Big Brad, Norman Bradshaw. He's actually one of my best friends of life. He was in my wedding. We're still best friends now. Actually, he's on my coaching staff at Pauley Camp now. So, big shout out to Norman. And then we have Vince Hill, which he held down the middle for us. Vince was a heck of a basketball player. I thought that he was good enough to play college basketball, but he just went into the workforce when he got out of high school. Then it's Troy Ruffin. Troy Ruffin was another young forward that got a lot of time for us. Then you have David Warren. David Warren and I actually grew up in the same neighborhood. He was a heck of an athlete. They call him Daily. Jumps out of the gym. He probably could take a quarter off the top of the rim. But he was a really good athlete and a great friend, a great guy. And then you had Sean Ruffin. He was a young pup. He was one of the youngest guys on the team, and we always kind of just pushed him around, but he was a really great guy. So that's the picture. That year, we actually won the Peanut District tournament and the Peanut District regular season championship. It was one of the first years when Coach really got back into basketball after winning several state titles at John F. Kennedy. But he helped us to become men.
Ooh, you are taking me back. You are taking me so back.
Yes.
So, oh my goodness, I remember every single one of you. I am going to just let everybody know my father coached many teams, and I know that every player in some way, shape, or form remembers him and has and enjoyed being on the team that he coached. So I'm going to say this, not to show any preferential treatment to this particular team, but Frankie was on this team. As he points out, he is number 3, and I'm going to just say two things. One, you were small in stature, but man, on the field, you were 8 feet tall for sure, for sure.
No.
And out of respect for all of the men in this photograph, I'm gonna recite their names again. To your left is Coach Littlejohn, Andrew Littlejohn, who also happens to be my older sister's godfather, therefore my godfather. I'm gonna name you all by name because that's where you are in my heart. And again, to the right, my dear dad, Coach Spencer Mayfield Jr., Melvin Stallings, Michael Slaughter, Quint Barnes, Bobby Goodman, the Frankie Chatman that you see in front of you, John Scott, Gerald Wiggins, recently deceased, Ed Boone, Keith Williams, Shelley Lassiter, Norman Bradshaw, Vince Hill, Troy Ruffin, Day Lee, who was in my class, David Warren, Sean Ruffin. You all are always going to be in my heart. So wherever you are, I've said your name. I wish nothing but love for you. My dad had nothing but love for you, and it's all love coming across his keyboard. Frankie Chapman, you have basically turned the clock back. I know 30 something years, more than 30 years for me. Let's talk a little bit about your basketball perspective. First of all, what position did you play? And tell me some of the things that dad and the rest of your teammates taught you.
Well, I was a point guard based, of course, with my size and all of that. And for those guys that played the point guard position, is the toughest position to play, in my opinion, because you have to know everything about everyone else's position. You have to be a direct connection to your head coach, because you have to be the head coach on the floor. And I was fortunate enough to be the starting point guard for Coach Mayfield. And if you don't know Coach Mayfield, I mean, he's gonna hold you accountable, and you need to make sure that you're on the same level that he's on. Now, he was tough, but the bottom line to it is I always knew he cared. And once you know someone care, you'll run through a brick wall, and that's where he always made me feel. Everything that I do is built on some of the things I learned from Coach, whether it's about building relationship or holding people accountable. Those things are very important. But before you can ever hold people accountable, you definitely have to build that relationship with them, and that's what Coach was able to do for me. And it helped me throughout my high school career. We didn't always get along, but I always knew where he stood. But I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. It helped develop my character. It helped me develop the man that I've become. It helped me develop how to deal with things once I went to college, because I did play college basketball. And Coach supported me throughout that. So when I say a coach, he was more of a mentor, more of a father figure, more of you can call Coach at any time in the moment. He's not going to ask you a bunch of questions. He can just give you some results. So that's what being a point guard for John F. Kennedy meant.
Oh man, I echo that sentiment. If you see me look down, folks, as you know, I take notes. My guests are all accomplished in their own right, and they drop a lot of knowledge that I actually plan on referring to as I progress in this thing called life. I recommend that you do the same. You said building relationships and accountability. Two great characteristics for any human to possess if you're going to make something of yourself, and more importantly reach back and help others. So let me ask you this: how has that team based experience helped you in your career and as a leader in the community?
Well, being a part of a team is so huge. It allows you to open your lenses up a little bit wider. A lot of times, if you don't, and I'm not going to say that just because you don't play sports don't mean that you see things from a holistic view, but as a teammate, you do have to be able to look through other people's lenses. And in life, those things are very important, because if you only see things the way that you see it, it may not always prepare you for things. So I would say, being on a team with such strong characters, and people come from different places, and how coach was able to mess us together and help us understand the importance of brotherhood, the importance of us staying connected together, um, played a huge role in my life because it did help me stop to think about how would other people feel about certain things, or how does it feel if I don't get my job done when other people are dependent on me. So that teamwork helped develop that you have to be held accountable. You have to be where you're supposed to be. You have to be willing to sacrifice.
I love it. I wrote down all of those keynotes specifically looking at things from a different lens. When you're on a team, it is definitely not all about you, and you have to work together. That push pull, that give take is very important. I'm going to ask this question to you because I would love to know your thoughts, because you have come across, and as I read at the top, have been influential in so many in the lives of so many young men. What have you seen that what is the big difference between when you were growing up and you were playing in the society that we had back then versus now? How have you adjusted in your leadership or coaching model to account for this new generation we have coming up?
Well, the biggest piece probably, and I tell this to my coaching staff, I say this to my teachers as well. The most important thing is that we have to meet students or athletes where they are, right? Because we can't do like coaches back in the day did, where they better come to me, right? I mean, if you didn't go where coach was, it's going to be a problem, right? But now you have to meet them where they are because the dynamics, the family structure have changed. The support systems have changed. So we have to meet students or athletes where they are. That may mean that they may be hungry. We need to feed them. That may mean that they can't read because nobody read with them. So we just have to meet them where they are. I will say one of my pet peeves is that I do have a lot of old school in me when it comes to how I instruct once they get to me, because I do believe that in our society, it wasn't really so much that the kids changed. I believe adults changed, which allowed the kids to change. And so, my philosophy is that I do want to meet kids and student athletes where they are, but also I need to plant that seed or develop that foundation that they can withstand whatever they face.
You said something. First of all, I 100% agree. So, for those of you listening and just joining us, I'm speaking to the Franklin Chatman, an amazing human as well as an accomplished man. We're talking about how it is to lead and coach and just be there for this new generation. So, you said something that I say I know at least 3 or 4 times a week. I'm old school. And so I want to pull that thread a little bit. This was not one of the questions that I sent you all, but because I say it so much and because you just said it, I think, and I'm talking to the green button, that it's worth unpacking what this generation, our generation, perceives and defines as old school. And here's why I want to pull that thread. I grew up in an environment where there were not very many choices. Like, I didn't make decisions in my home. My two-parent home, one-parent home, it didn't matter.
Right.
Carolyn Mayfield said, "We're going to do this." We did that. Spencer Mayfield didn't even have to speak. He just had to look. We're going to do that. And so that type of upbringing, that respect, that, and using your inside voice, just understanding that you may not like it, but you're gonna ride with it. And typically 8 times out of the 10, it was something that had a good outcome or a good benefit. Um, I want you to describe. So when you say old school, what does it mean for you? Break that down for us.
For me, old school just simply mean that we lead. Adults have to be in the front, right? Because we lead based on our experiences. And so often kids don't always get that. And so I do give kids the opportunity to have a voice. But that voice is just to help lead them to where they need to go. So one of the things that I always do, even for my student athletes, for my basketball guys, is that they have to develop a vision board, because in order for them to accomplish anything, you have to set goals for that. It just didn't happen overnight. I mean, like, I just, be blatantly honest with you. Like I said, I grew up in housing projects, and that's the one thing. My goal was always to escape that, because I knew it was something bigger. And my mom did the best she could. She was always there, but we just didn't have it financially. But developing those goals early, the old school in me say, these are the things that you said you want to do, and this is how we're gonna get there. And if you're not willing to follow the goals and objectives to get to where you're trying to go, then you're really not trying to accomplish what you said you want to accomplish. And so that's part of the old school of me, allowing them. That's why I said meet kids where they are, because if you can get them to tell you what they want to do, then you can hold them accountable for what they said.
Oh, that's so good. There's a parent somewhere right now going, yeah, 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 right? Because that's what they've been preaching and teaching to their children. As you know, we're on a platform. I love the information age. I'm on social media. I enjoy engaging that way. I'm also a techie person. And so when you say meeting students where they are, some of that behavior, some of those tools and resources that weren't at play when we were younger now have to be, at least you need to be, grown folks talking to you, at least familiar with some of these resources in order to reach our students, and our athletes in this day and age where they are. So this, after you said that, it made me think of the next question to ask you. Who who were some of your role models, and have they changed? Do you have any new role models now that were back in the day, or do you have some maybe new school role models that you look up to that help you do exactly what you just described that you do for other students?
Well, of course, my mom was my, that was my best friend. I just, I was a mama's boy, of course. So, but some of the things that she instilled in me, I still use to this day. But it still was some things that she really couldn't teach me how to become a man. And I will definitely have to say the two most influential men in my life was my uncle Ronald Thomas, which he used to coach with Coach Mayfield, and of course Coach Spencer Mayfield. Those two guys were the most influential men in my life, and that's one of the reasons why I followed their path in education and in coaching. So just their preparation for the world, and sometimes people don't always see or understand what goes in it before it comes out. And they both of them were able to prepare me for a certain moment. It wasn't easy because both of them were tough, hard nosed Omega men. So but their influences still live on in me still to this day.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to bring that up. You are a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated,
Yes,
and so is a few of my guests are also a member of that fraternity.
three out of
I
four. 3 out of 4.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. I think that, um, your perspective of being raised by a single mom, and I'm sure many times doing it scared, doing what you felt you had to do without knowing the answers, is really the transparency part of I believe why you're able to touch and reach as many people as you are. I asked this question to my other guests. I'm going to pose it to you too. There's probably a young man or an older young man, right, out there that's saying, all that's good. You don't understand, what I have to go through. Times are different. I'm not an athlete. I don't have resources. I don't have access. And so what you're saying sounds good. That's good for you. But I'm still struggling, not where I want to be. I don't have a mentor, and I'm not sure what to do. And to be frank, y'all, talking to the green button again, sometimes when we don't know what to do, we do nothing. What would you say to that individual out there that might be watching?
Well, first, all of us have a story, right? And you have the right to be the author of your story, right? So the bottom line is that I'm always, when I talk about meeting kids or student athletes where they are, that's why I believe in the philosophy of allowing them to have their own vision board. Because without a vision board, it's really hard to accomplish something if you don't have guidelines to follow, or if you don't have objectives or ways to those means, right? That's who we are. That's what coaches are. That's what teachers are. We're resources, right? And sometimes kids don't always know that the resources are there. So that's why it's very important that we communicate that with them. And that happens in relationships. All of us have a reason not to be successful. We can have a lot of reasons not to be successful, and no matter who your parents are or how you grew up, you can have a reason or you can make excuses. One of my main models for my students and my players is hard work, no excuses. Because if you work hard, good things will happen for you. But if you make excuses for it, they won't.
Oh, that's good. I keep rushing to the button because I'm trying to write down these pearls of wisdom. I love it. I'm going to write that down on my notebook. Hard work, no excuses. And as I say often, most of what we say is not earth shattering. It's the application of what you're
Right.
saying that's going to make the difference. And I echo everything you said. And based on your answer, I'm going to move us into the fatherhood portion of the questions. As I mentioned in your bio, you have two sons. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm sitting across the keyboard from Franklin Chatman, a very accomplished coach and principal in Suffolk, Virginia, a man who has done many things to help a lot of young men and a lot of students in general, both male and female. He's also a husband and he's also a father. So this question I know is going to pull at your heartstrings a little bit. Why are fathers important?
Well, and some people might not know this, but I could be very emotional, like, because I take fatherhood very serious, and you know, and and in parenting, there is no book, right? There was no book that tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and all of that. So you kind of learn as you go. And my oldest son said often he'll say that you treated me different than the way you treated Tyler, right? I want to say because I practiced on you first. But the fatherhood side of it has been such an amazing, like just being like, so the three things that the company I work for, CSAP, is three things that we really thrive on, that we want to, the three things is very important to us is being present, being invested, and building capacity. And I carry that in my life every single day when it comes to my boys. I want to be present. I want to be there when they need me. I want to be available. I want to understand what they're thinking, how they feel, and why they see things that way. And then I'm definitely going to be invested, because when being invested doesn't just mean money. It means time. It means understanding that the things that they face. Like my oldest son, he didn't even play basketball, but he was a musician, and he was a heck of a musician. He actually was a drum major at Virginia State for 3 years. He was a drum major at Kings Ford High School. So he makes me so proud of him. He's a teacher now. So, seeing those things, meaning that the things that my wife and I taught him, he actually was listening, and he actually, followed and did the things. And, he's still growing, but I'm so proud of him. He's a DJ. He takes pictures. He owns his own business. I mean, he's doing some amazing things. So he makes me proud every single day. And that, in fact, helped me understand that we did build capacity in him. We did allow him to grow as a person. And so that was very important. And my youngest son, he's still in college. He's a D1 student athlete, a Dean's List student, amazing guy. He's more of an introvert, kind of like my wife is. But, he's one of those people that will do whatever for you. So we're proud of him as well. Just, we have really been blessed to have two boys that really follow the lead of what a fatherhood should be. someone that build our kids up, someone that's present for them, and someone that understand that they will make mistakes, but it's our job to continue to educate and teach them.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I don't know if your company has branded those 3 things, but I'm gonna repeat them because I feel a T-shirt coming. Um, being present, being invested, and building capacity. Those 3 things alone will open the aperture for life in some
Yes.
major ways. So first of all, hats off to you and your wife, and congratulations to your children who, I keep up with you on Facebook. Gotta, attending an HBCU, the drum beat is important, man. That drum
Oh
beat is
yeah.
important. And also the athletic abilities that they have. As I mentioned at the top, my husband is an introvert as well, a DJ, very musically inclined, and so all of those gifts, all of the tools, the resources, the home training, the mistakes, being available for your family as well as the community has, I know, left an indelible mark on them. I know it has.
Thank
So
you.
I'm just overjoyed. I think about my. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my dad. He's such a big part of my life, and he had all girls, right?
Yeah.
So the interesting conversations that my sisters and I have is, what would life have been like if we had had a brother? And we laugh about that, and we're like, oh, it could go this way, it could go that way. And listening to you talk about your sons, and listening to you talk about the teammates that you have, and the conversations that I've already had with Melvin, LilTwin, and BigTwin, and my uncle, I can say that I think I know what it's like to have brothers, because I look at you. I look at Melvin. I look at some of the other players that I used to sit on the bench and watch, and I used to fuss just like him. It does my heart good, and here's the why: is that our country, the culture, is attacking you. Right? It's
Yes.
it's a full on attack on our black men and our young black boys and BIPOC, the BIPOC community in general, and so anything that I can do to elevate, highlight the good work, and peel the onion back to pick your brain on how we pay it forward, Feet Planted LLC is going to do. So I'm trying not to get emotional. I say this with every interview, but I 100% am so thankful that you and your wife and so many others like you are doing the work that you're doing. And you're not doing it perfectly, because none of us are, but you are
Right.
showing up. Talk about investing and building capacity. I'm looking at your bio, and that one of you couldn't attain any of those accolades without falling, failing, and then getting back up again, which brings me to my point. This wasn't one of your questions. What's your go to process to pick yourself back up after what I call a face plant? Because I'm sure you've had those moments. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, the biggest piece, but can I add this before we go? I do want to shout out your mother, Miss Mayfield, right? Because I remember her coming to games and her support, and it really helped me understand the expectations of my wife. Like, she's always in the background when it comes to me coaching or doing other things, and that's very important to have a positive support system when you are um, investing in other people's children, because that's what Coach really did. He invested in other people's children. So I did want to shout out your mom for that. So, but to be very transparent, when I do face things or obstacles or whatever, one of the things that I learned is that you have to be able to reflect, right? And the moments of reflection should give you opportunity to help you understand why things happen and how you could do or change things, right? So I'm always going to reflect on whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I'm going to use some self-reflection to figure out how do I continue to make it better, or how do I change what happened negative. And so I often reflect on it. and that helps me get through things.
Yeah, that's good. Reflection is important. And we talk about some of these skills. So, folks, if you're listening, it doesn't matter what age you are, quite frankly, you can deploy these skills of reflection and holding yourself accountable. I'm going to slip another question in here based on previous conversations that I've had with my colleagues and especially my uncle. Um, he talked about repeatedly in our own personal conversations about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who support you and who are good for you. I'm using real general terms here. What I'm really getting at is the company you keep is critical. It's
That's correct.
important. So you talked about the vision board, you talked about being accountable. Talk to us from your perspective of how you chose your circle and why it's important to be selective.
Well, Coach Mayfield really helped me with that as well, because when you pick and choosing your circle, just like you would pick a team, um, you definitely need to know what value they're going to place, they're going to have in your life, and what value you're going to have in their life. Because if your circle surround yourself with people that don't have the same goals, don't have the same aspirations, or don't see things the way, and everybody's not going to see things the same way that you see it. But you got to be heading in the same direction. That I often tell my student athletes that if you want to go to Miami, there's no way you're going to Miami if you go 95 north. You're going the wrong direction. You have to go 95 south. Okay. So in order to be, if you say you want to be successful, you have to be around people that have some of the same ideas that want to be successful. Some of my friends that I grew up with in Cypress Manor, I'm still friends with them, but I don't spend a lot of time with them. I don't ever forget where I come from. I'm willing to help anybody, but I cannot be around people that don't have the same in the same league or the same goals that I have. And what I mean by same league, meaning that we are trying to accomplish certain things, right? And if you're not trying to do those things, I still care about you. I still love you. I'm still going to encourage you. But I don't have, our window is already short on this earth. And so if we don't use the time wisely, we'll be forever like lost for that time. Like, and I don't want to do that. I want to live my best life. I know God has a plan for me, and He often guides me into the right. I mean, I've been so fortunate and so blessed. Like, it's just mind-boggling. Like, every time I walk to my mailbox and I look back at the things that I've been able to accomplish through the greatness of God, and the people like Coach Mayfield, my mom. I think about them all the time. Like, is this and that's the one thing I always want to do is make them proud of me, right? And when you talk about circles, that's what I envision. Like, the people that care the most about me, are they going to be proud of me in this moment?
That's good. Oh my goodness. That is so good. I have a friend, a very dear friend. I'm gonna call his name Lawrence Adams, who always says, everybody's with you for a season and a reason. That's not a new adage. But also you can't take everybody with you.
Yeah, right.
And
That's
so this is not about disrespect. I don't do clicks. I have my core, tribe, and all of us are moving in the same direction, direct direction. Like maybe you'll take A to C to get there, and I'll take D to F. But at the end of
right.
the day, we're moving towards a common goal. And I love how your analogy was that to forming a team, right? An
Right.
athletic team, because that's exactly what it is. And so I'm going to say message again. It is really important, my dear friends, and I'm speaking to the parents also, that you understand who your children's influencers are in addition to you. That includes the people that you can touch and feel and ring a doorbell, to include those that you can point and click on their phones. Understand who's influencing them, and make sure that they understand that we love everybody, and there are some moments where our paths will take a departure, and it's okay. It is
Right.
absolutely okay, because we're all here for different reasons and purposes. We both have a spiritual foundation. Even though it's not in your bio, we'll put his information up on the screen, folks, so you can check him out on his social media. But you are a man of God. I'm not ashamed to say that on my platform. I know from whom my blessings come. That was
Yes.
definitely a big part of my upbringing. And so I just want to echo that sentiment. And you said it right. I'm going to have to run this back and take some t-shirt time, is what I call it, and put some of these comments that you've made on a t-shirt. But I have thoroughly enjoyed. We don't have enough time. This I could talk to you and all of my other guests for literally hours, because it's not just about what the theme is about, and it's really not even just about my dad. It's also how we go through this thing called life, how we do it together, how we can help each other. And daggone it, you're a black man out here in this world, and I want everybody who has the ability to press play to know that there is a Franklin Chatman in the world, and that there are many others like him. So hats off to you. And as custom, so we're not just gonna roll out of here real quick.
Mhm.
I have been taking notes. I usually do a recap. I've got 3 pages of notes, no lie, just from listening to you. I'm not gonna read them all, but there are a few things that stuck out to me. One of them I actually took the time to write down, and if I can click enough buttons, this was my favorite. Hard work, no excuses. I absolutely love this. You also talked about building relationships, the importance of being accountable, and how adults, like yourselves, like all of us, need to really meet our young people, meet anyone in our charge, whether you're a child or a young adult, meet them where they are. And if we don't have the capacity to meet their needs, then our connections, our tribe, our community, we know somebody that has the capacity to meet their needs. You are now a part of my tribe. So if I know someone that needs mentoring, I got you. I got your number. You need to talk to him. And so I encourage you all to do the same. You also talked about role models, being present, and making sure that your students and your athletes and anyone in your charge has a voice. I love that. I have the gift of gab. I inherited that naturally. And my husband is helping me work on listening more. And when we listen more to anyone, but definitely our young people, they have something to say. It may not
Yes.
always come out the way that we want to hear it, or how we expect it, but allowing them to have a voice is going to be really important. And not only that, it's going to build trust, which is another thing that you talked about. And so I just want to say thank you so very much. It's been an honor to sit across from all of you. And I'm going to tell you to your face that it's been an honor to talk to you. You know, you're not getting out of here yet, though. I want, as custom, I give all of my guests the last word. Even though I've recapped all of the great things that you've said, I want you to share whatever's on your heart to our audience. Speak to whomever you like, and to just leave us with words of wisdom that you'd like to share.
Well, I mean, like you said, I love the idea that you do celebrate others' beliefs, right? I just believe that God has a plan for all of us, and I believe that He always put people in our life at the right time and at the right moment. Um, and that happened for me in so many ways. I was born to the right mother. I met the right coach. I'm around the right people. You know, every single day. My dearest friend is probably Norman Bradshaw, which was one of my teammates, which Coach Mayfield helped create that, because if he didn't select both of us, our bond wouldn't have grown. But every single day he sends me a message, to help me get through my day. And they are strong messages, and is normally laced with things what God expects from us. So I would just my charge would that you be the best version of you, and that you understand what your purpose is, and always give thanks and grace for your being.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. I love it. I absolutely love it. And as promised, folks, talking to my favorite green button, if you are interested in reaching out to and learning more, because I didn't read his full bio, he's done more cool stuff. But you can reach him, find him on Facebook at Franklin Chatman. That is his name. That is how to spell it. There's a little inside joke because I misspelled it. I've only known you all my life, right? I highly encourage that if you are interested in athletics, it doesn't really matter what sport it is, because the fundamentals of what Mr. Chatman has shared with us apply across the spectrum of team sports and life. If you need a mentor, I highly encourage you to reach out to him. He is amongst a tribe of many men, some of whom you have heard from for this particular theme that we have, and some that you haven't. If you need to ask him a question, the only thing that I ask you not to do is we don't entertain foolery, serious inquiries only. But he's available. He gave me his information to put up. Again, find him, learn more about him, and consider asking him to be your mentor if you don't have one. I know he doesn't mind. I have thoroughly enjoyed catching up with you, going down memory lane. Before we get out of here, I got to throw this picture up again. So many men in this picture. If you want to zero in, he is you're number 3, right?
Yes.
Franklin Chatman, number 3. Again, small in stature in this particular picture, but mighty on the basketball court. Sir, it's been an honor. And as custom, I typically just play the music, and we just pop up on out of here. Thank you so much for enriching us and sharing so much wisdom.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you for answering the call and all of my text messages, because I can bug the heck out of him. No, it wasn't hard to get him here, folks. You have been listening to Mr. Franklin Chatman. I'm going to actually put his information back up here. And you've been listening to me, Karrin Mayfield Felton, owner of Planted LLC, celebrating my father, Coach Spencer Mayfield Jr., celebrating Black men, their accomplishments, and who they are becoming, and more importantly, how they are paying it forward. Stay tuned, because there will be more. There will be other folks that you get to learn more about. And again, if you're interested in Feet Planted LLC, here is the website. Go see what I'm about. But more importantly, I need you to check this man out right here. Y'all have an absolutely great day, and live on purpose, y'all. There's a lot for us to do. Thank you so much.